Still going. So, good afternoon. This is a session looking at H5P within the University of Portsmouth's Moodle environment. I forgot to bring a keyboard, so I'll be going off to the side where my laptop is at the moment. But what I'm going to do is show you how to add a H5P resource within the Moodle site. And then what I'll do is kind of explain what the different tools are and kind of go through them and how you might use them. So if you have any questions, please, I've got the chat window over here from the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please do just post them there and I'll try and answer anything coming in. So I'm in my Moodle site and I've turned editing on. And so to add H5P, I do add an activity or resource. And I'd scroll down to where it says H5P interactive content. So I'm going to select interactive content and click add. Now there's no title for this because the title is set within the resource that you create within H5P, but you can add a description, so once it's in the Moodle site, if there's some extra information you'd like to add, you can put that in the description. In this case, I'm just going to work in the editor. If you've already created a H5P in H5P itself, or if you're if you have something that's available from maybe if you've created it somewhere else, you can choose to upload and then upload the file in here as you would sort of attaching it to an email or something. You just upload the file in this environment, and the H5P sort of window will add that in for you. So I'm just going to do create content, and what I'll do is set it to A to Z, and I'm going to go through this and sort of work through what they are, and I will then sort of try and set up one of the resources, just kind of show you the H5P environment. And the good bit is there is lots of sort of tutorial stuff on the H5P website, which I will do now just to sort of highlight that H5P H5P is an external tool to Moodle. It can be plugged into lots of different sort of environments, but basically allows you to create interactive HTML5 content and use it wherever you need. So again, I'll go over these as we're creating it. So the first one is the accordion. And if I select the right thing, if I click content demo, what it will do is take you to the H5P site where it will show you what it is. So in this case, an accordion allows you to create titles that then fold away as you finish with them and just highlight kind of the information you have found. Now you can't add images or video to this section, but you can add links. So if you've got a link to some information that you're trying to sort of again explain, you can add that in as well. But each section is just a little bit of text around whatever you're talking about. Accordions are good for just that reason, condensing information. If you're putting it into Moodle, and maybe if you're putting it in a label, what you're able to do is put it in that box so that everything is kind of there, so this, maybe a student can see lots of different examples, but that you're not filling up the Moodle kind of screen, Moodle sort of topic spaces with too much information. And again, you can embed it within books and pages as well. So you can use this to put a lot of information in but have it tucked away under just its own headings. The next item is the Gamoto image blender. What this allows you to do is if you have a range of images, it will blend those images together. So if I drag the slider along, what you'll see first is the lines of all the rivers, and then I do it again and you'll get all the land borders as well. Now this would have been 3 images that has been uploaded into H5P, and they are separate, so it needs 3 different images, one with the rivers on, one with the rivers and the borders on, and one with sort of none of them on. But as you drag them, as long as the background image kind of matches and ties together and is the same resolution, it looks like it all just seamlessly overlays it. If I move on to the next example, you can see that Doesn't matter if the images is the same or not. All it's doing is blending those images together. So it's got the seasons transitioning between them, but it's just essentially blurring it rather than moving from one to the other, which they do in a different tool anyway. Close this down. The arithmetic quiz. This is something that is definitely more towards schools and sort of younger learners. It wouldn't necessarily be used in higher education. But should you need it, you can choose to have a multiplication, division, addition and subtraction quiz. They click start the quiz. 1, 6, 6, 2, 6, 12. If you're right, it'll tell you you're right, and then move on to the next question. And if you get it wrong, so 4 times 3 is 2. Oh no, it tells me it's 12, so I got that one wrong. And it would just keep giving me the score, which you can see at the top right. Again, not necessarily useful for everyone in higher education, but this tool is open source, or not so much open source as it is open for people to use and embed and put into their sites, be it Moodle, Joomla, Drupal, WordPress, and you can then use that for obviously different levels of learning. You can upload an audio recording. Obviously this can be done directly to Moodle as well, but you're able to add it through here if you aren't necessarily able to put it into another learning environment. But in our case, we just put that probably directly into Moodle within a label space, and people could listen to it directly in their topic spaces. You can create an audio recorder, giving the student the opportunity to record a memo and a message. So you can have count to 5 in French, hit record, they record their version, and it will then be available for them to distribute back to you for you to listen to their ability to count to 5 in French. Now the branching scenario is a very big tool. It's a bit like the Moodle lesson tool if you've used that, and it allows you to come up with different sort of paths and different scenarios to allow the student to make a decision. And again, that's sort of more easily demonstrated here. So if I make this full screen, start the game, you can provide information, set up information. Once you're confident with everything through that, you proceed to the lesson. And again, in this case, they're going to give you some information that's pertinent to the case you're doing. And what they've produced in this case is a range of videos that leads you through to meeting the client.
Who is it? What do you want?
And once you get to the end of the video, you can choose an example, choose what your response would be. You
Hi, I'm Ann Jones, a community nurse. I'm here for the appointment we arranged yesterday.
What it will do is move you on in the story. And in this case, if you're incorrect, what it will do is essentially tell you that. So you can't go too far down the wrong path. But it's a really good way of sort of engaging
As I said at the door, my name is Ann Jones. I'm a nurse who visits families in the community. We offer many services.
Another example that they've created to demonstrate this is just around the different kind of art within European art history. Gives you some information about all the different periods. What are you interested in? I'm interested in Eastern art. You didn't pay attention, so I got it wrong, so I go back. It takes me on to the next stage. So, Western art. And then I can choose a different period, and it will take me through that and provide information and maybe again some quizzes and interaction within that part of the presentation. So it gives me a few options to work through that branch depending on the answers you give and how you set it up. Obviously, for those ones where you may have lots of different potential paths, you're going to have to try and scale it back a little, because otherwise you're going to create a very, very large and potentially unwieldy kind of resource. You want to try and keep it as streamlined as possible. So when you maybe hit an incorrect answer, what you would do is rein that back and sort of explain why it maybe is incorrect, but then only let them go down the path that you really want them to go down, rather than having to sort of create too much for yourself. It's a very invested tool, but if you have the time and resources to use, it will produce some very, very good work. Chart. Again, if you're not used to using Excel, or if you want just a very simple sort of chart creator, you would input your data, input the things, and it will then create either a bar chart or a pie chart for you, and you can then sort of use that in your site. Collage essentially does what Google Photos can do for you now, where it takes a couple of photos and puts them into a single image, but you can have lots of different images within that. Now the column is one of the sort of more powerful tools within H5P. On its own, it doesn't really do anything. What it does allow you to do, though, is use more than one H5P tool in one space. So in this instance, it's got some image, some text. It's then got a sort of a multiple choicing, plus a true or false, a drag and drop exercise. And you can go through this and use lots of different H5P tools, but in one particular collection, so that you don't have to maybe create 5 or 6 of them individually and then link them some other way, although you could do it within a Moodle book or maybe the Moodle lesson tool. You could have a range of different singular H5P activities, but if you want to keep it all within one H5P activity, that would be this in the column. You can also do it where you've got an interactive video and a sort of a header as well. So it doesn't have to be too much information, but you can use the column for a range of different things. And again, it can be any single H5P element, but within itself. Course presentation is slightly similar to the column, as well as the branching tool. You essentially create kind of a PowerPoint-like resource. And you go through each slide, maybe with some activities. And if you get them right, it'll tell you you've got the correct answers, and you're able to work through it. And if you want to look at a particular section, so I'm in the next section of red currant, but I want to go straight to blueberries, I click the jump, and it takes me to here, and then I can work through those slides, and I can see what I've completed and what I haven't within here. And again, very similar, you've created a quiz using a few different elements. That are sort of interactive throughout the slide. Dialogue cards are what I would have always called flashcards. But you're able to
arándanos azules. Arándanos azules.
Read and see an image. You make a guess, turn it round, and it tells you whether you've got it right or wrong. And you can create a whole range of cards that the student is able to sort of use as a revision tool. Create a dictation tool. Again, very useful for certain subjects, especially maybe the sort of languages. Click on the play button, listen to the sample of what you've heard, and then type down your answer. So you listen to it, and at the moment it's not playing out for me at the moment, but you've listened to it, type in the correct answer, and then you can check your responses. The documentation tool. The documentation tool allows you to create, essentially allows the student to create a work plan around your kind of framework. So this can be adapted, and you can add more goals, more plans, depending on what you want to do. but the wizard will take you through step by step. So you insert the title of your project when it starts, and your name. And as you go through, you can add your goals, any plans you're going to be doing. And then when you get to the end of this, any goals you've set, you can then say whether you've done them or not. And at the end, it'll create a document for you, essentially laying out the plan. And again, you can either select the text, export it, or submit it somewhere if you have that sort of ability to submit it to somewhere. So you can use this to get the students to create a learning guide or a learning plan for themselves, which they can then submit to you to sort of review and make sure that they're on course with their work. Drag and drop tool. It's probably a fairly familiar tool these days for people. You've got an item, you choose the correct one, and if it's correct, you'll get a point for it, and if not, it would correct you and tell you which ones are wrong. You can have it so it can be quite invested. You can create a lot of different pieces, so I could get them to set up an entire chessboard, and if it's in the right place, it'll tell you. If it's not, it won't let you put it in the wrong place. Drag the words. You're given a few statements and the correct answers on the right hand side. So what colours are these berries? Blueberries are blue, strawberries are red, and cloudberries are orange. I check it, and if it's correct, it will tell me, and I can look at any information as well that it gives me. The essay tool allows me to complete an essay. Tells me there that I'll do 100 characters with up to 500 characters. With this one, unlike the Moodle quiz kind of essay tool where it would have to be marked by an academic, this is looking for keywords within the phrase, so you'd have to give it an answer. It won't let me do it unless I've added some characters. But if it's not got anything that it needs to have, it will sort of tell you the words that maybe you're missing, and it's checking against your sort of standard or set answer. So it's definitely not as full and as in-depth as maybe a true traditional essay, but it can be a little more flexible than maybe sort of just a short answer, where it would be a very simple answer to a question which is very sort of defined. Fill in the blanks. You can give a paragraph, add some images, and they just have to type in the correct answers into the boxes and check those if they're right. So it's a good way of again, for revision tools, for maybe people who need to know sort of certain parts of the subject, you can get them to do sort of almost a comprehension sort of exercise with that fill in the blanks tool. Multiple hotspots. So in this, find all the vegetables in the picture. So you select the answers, tells me I've found one of two, and if I get all of them, I get it correct. Find the hotspot is a singular one, so you can again pose a question around a certain type of thing. In this case, which one of these berries is named after a town in Turkey? I'm going to select cherry, and that's correct. And the others would have been incorrect and told me why. Find the words. It's a little word search game. Again, maybe good as a sort of revision tool if there's key terms that you may have within your subject matter, and the student can then just drag and find their answers within the word search. Flashcards. This is a slightly more engaged flashcards than the dialogue card. Similar principle though, where if I've got an image, a little hint, green sour fruit, and within that I type the answer, and if it's correct it will show me, and then move on to the next one if I need it. Guess the answer. And again, this is similar to the flashcard and the dialogue card. Which fruit is this? And rather than turning it round, press here to reveal the answer, and it tells me if I get it right or not. So they're all very, very similar tool. It's just displaying it maybe in slightly different ways. iframe embedder, I'm not going to worry about that one within H5P today. If you haven't got anywhere to embed external web pages, you'd use an iframe embedder for that. Within Moodle we have that facility of using the HTML editor should you need to embed things, and again it's one of those skills that most people that use it will probably know how to use it, so I wouldn't worry about it for too much at the moment. But if you do need to use the iframe embedder, you can go through their details, follow their content demo, and within that there would also be the tutorial, sort of giving you a step-by-step process on how it works. Image hotspots. This is a really sort of nice tool. Again, I can make it full screen if I want, but what I'm able to do is over the image add a range of different hotspots, and each hotspot can contain either information, in this case this one's going to be a video, can be a video, text, images, and I can create an interactive sort of image that the students will be able to then investigate to again find out whatever it is that you want them to maybe look at. Image juxtaposition. Again, this is quite a nice one depending on your subject matter. What you'd need, as we have here, two images that are essentially lined up, but when I drag the bar you can see the difference in sort of the before and after the flood over this location. Image pairing. Kind of a matching pairs scenario. So you've got the images of the sort of the patterns, and then you've got the animals on the right hand side, and again you just drag the correct image to the one you think is correct. Zebra, flamingo, that's a tiger, and that's the cheetah. And once you're done, you check it, and if you've got them correct, it will show you the right answers. Image sequencing. Basically, it's kind of like a timeline tool. So which, in this case, is not a timeline, this is size, so which of the planets is in the correct order. This one is a time one. The US presidents, arrange the last 10 US presidents from most recent to the earliest, and you put them in the correct order, and you can check it, and you'll find out if you're right or not. You can then retry it, resume where you left off, and you can show the solution as well, should you want to get the answer. Image slider. This is like the one we sort of saw at the beginning, which is called the Gamoto image blender. The difference being is it doesn't blend the images, they are just sliding between the images that you have. So it doesn't blend them, but you can do essentially the same idea of putting a few images in an order, in a sequence, and they can be cycled through. Interactive video. If you have a YouTube video, or you can upload a video directly into the H5P environment, especially within Moodle. And what you're able to do, if I turn that down, is create a video that has different hotspots that allow you to either get just a general information, and the video pauses and starts according to them, essentially what you set up, but allowing the student to stop the video to do the quiz. So what kind of berry is this? It's a strawberry. And if you're right, you click continue and the video will then keep playing, and these little hotspots will disappear again depending on when you set them to come on and off accordingly. So highlight the ingredients. So I can do a range of different bits and pieces depending on what you want them to do and interact with during that. Mark the words. Similar to the fill in the blanks, the difference in this one is you've got the whole paragraph, but they have to go through and select the words that they think are relevant, and it will then tell you how many you've got right, which ones you don't. And again, if you want to find out, you can show the solution and it will show you the ones you got right and the ones you missed. Memory game. This is a matching pairs. So they just select the answers and try and find the right ones, and when they're right, it will show them. And again, this is using their demo version with just berries, but you could also use it for any kind of range of things, especially maybe different kind of, if you're doing hematology, for example, you could use all the different kind of red blood cell types and all that, and you could link them to get together as sort of a fun interaction to add to reinforce the rest of the information that you're providing. But it gets them to investigate it in a slightly different way. Multiple choice. So an MCQ, again, this can be done directly in the Moodle quiz, but the good bit about doing it within H5P is the fact that it's maybe slightly more visual, but you can embed it using the embed code. I'll get to that in a little while. But you can use the embed code to put it within other resources. So it's not having a complete standalone quiz question, but you're having some sort of little interaction within maybe some other material. So it's a lot lighter than using a Moodle quiz. All of these, again, maybe sort of available in other forms, but the nice bit is they are embeddable within the sort of the flow of the text, within the material that you're using, as kind of little reminders and little activities to break up maybe some of the sort of harder or maybe sort of more sort of widely read texts. Personality quiz. Again, this one's kind of a little bit silly, but the idea being that you pose a range of questions and you can then maybe funnel the student off into a different answer. So for instance, this is kind of what berry are you, however you could maybe do this for what kind of learning do you like, and you could have these as that kind of, you know, I prefer listening, I prefer watching, I prefer reading, and through the different examples that you're given, it should then, and again you can turn that spinning wheel off, but it will then allow you to get them to a different point and give them some information. Despite saying blue, it's come up as strawberry and gives me a little bit of information about the strawberry. Quiz question set. Again, kind of like a multiple choice quiz option, but allows you to have more than one question. So which berries are listed? Cloudberry, strawberry, blueberry and raspberry are all berries you can pick in the wild. And then I can add a drag and drop into that as well. And which one of these are red? And you can check your answer. Single choice set. Goji berries are also known as what? I'm going to say wolfberries. And again, this will then build on the statements, as it were, although there is a statement tool as well. But this will build on the question from previously and just keep going through and give you a score at the end of this. Once you've gone through all of them, it tells you how many you've got right. Speak the words. Again, as you may have seen there, it says only works in the Chrome browser. Content demo. So push the button to speak. What is 2 plus 2? 4. And hopefully, if you're right, it should then give you the correct response. 4. Apparently not today. So this one is the same as the previous one, but it allows you to create more than one question and build on them as you're going. The summary, again, this sort of allows you to build up statements and progress through this. So blueberries are non-edible round berries, and non-edible elongated berries are edible round berries. So if I get it right, it then gets me a few more statements and they turn green on ripening. No, that's the wrong answer. Get the correct answer, and there you go. I got one of the two right, so it's 50%, and I can see where I got it wrong. Timeline. Again, this is a good way of presenting information, especially working within history, or if you're teaching sort of the something that is scalable. They can drag through the timeline. You can do it through the little markers, or you can click straight onto an option within the timeline. But you're working through all the different information. So the student doesn't have to interact with it in any other way other than you're providing stuff as you see in the sort of the timeline format. True or false? Just what it says on the tin. You can provide an image. Question, Oslo is the capital of Norway. That's true. Check the answer, and if you're right, it will show you. You can add a Twitter user feed in. To do that, you just need to copy and paste your Twitter user handle into the box once you click use. The appeared in for chat and talk. I've now skipped the virtual tour. I'll come back to that in a second. But this one is a bit like WebEx that we use within the university. And again, there are things like Zoom that might be sort of relevant to what you use. So I've never used this myself through H5P, but if you haven't got access to some of those products, it does give you a very simplistic chat and talk feature. But the last one here is the virtual tour. If I show that, what it allows you to do is create a sort of interactive hotspot environment within a 360 environment that gives you that sort of in-depth information around a subject. So I may very well make this full screen. So I can click and drag around looking at the photo. Now you would need a 360 camera, although depending on the phone you may use, I know that with my Android phone there is a kind of a panorama option, and again there's one that extends to being sort of a 360 option. And what you can do is take photos and the system usually then stitches them together to make what you can see here. But again, if you're lucky enough to have a 360 camera, you can use that. You click on the option and it will load you maybe a more detailed photo of a certain area. These ones allow you to go to another view into that and work through the different bits here. And again, you can add text, images. So that's all the tools that we have within H5P. Just to show you kind of the interface of this, if I choose a mark the words and I'll click use. So here is where I give it a title. Mark the words. Demo. Click on all the verbs. So again, what I'd say is and so here is the answer. So the cat Matt cow jumped over the moon. And what you can see here is where it's the correct answer, I need to put in front of that a star, and at the end of that I need to do the same, a star there. So again at the end and at the beginning. I can add a score range if I wish. You can allow people to download this, and again, if you allow the download, you'd then be able to download it and upload it into another H5P environment. If I leave the display action bar and frame on, I'll then be able to get to the embed code as well. So if I save and display this, so the cat and the cow, it's correct. If I choose embed, there's the iframe embed. I can copy that so that what I might want to do within the Moodle environment, for instance, would be hide this, and then what I would have to do is set this to, if I set it to hide first and then to make available, it's now available but not shown on the course page. So it may be that I'm going to add a book. Save and display that. So I might be adding a whole range of different information within this, which is a particular Moodle tool. Activity. So I'm going to select to drop this down, choose the HTML embedder. I'm going to, if I can press the right keys, paste in the embed code that I got from H5P and save that. And so there's the activity within Moodle. So if I go back to my main page, and again I could add videos here, other text, more information within the book environment. If I now change this and switch my role to that of a student, so you can see now that the H5P activity has disappeared for the students. That's no longer there. Because I'd set it to be available but not visible, they can't see it, but they will be able to access it should they go into the book, into the activity. They can then do it as well, and again they work through the activities and the reading that you'd provide within the book. Obviously I only did one page, but you'd be able to do as many as was relevant for your course. Once I'm finished, return to my normal role, and I can carry on creating resources or editing the ones I've done. So that's H5P within Moodle. It's a very flexible tool. It allows you to create very interactive sort of content, and again, not necessarily have it like you might see here as a big long list of H5P activities. Again, you could make them available but not shown on the course page and collate them all within one sort of activity, one book, or that might be, again, like I say, the lesson tool, which also adds some sort of quiz functionality to it as well, and is a bit of a branching tool if you want to work sort of down that kind of sort of route. But with this, you're able to then, like I say, use them where's relevant and add in a multiple range of different types of H5P interactions within one environment that is then useful to you and your students. If you do have any questions, please put them in the comment section here. If not, you can contact us through the Twitter feed of @tellportsmouth. And hopefully at the moment with all this, we'll be doing some more of these videos to try and demonstrate some other features of Moodle, as well as other interactive content that you may or may not want to use within your teaching, to try and create more sort of media-rich interactions while students maybe are not able to come to lectures or seminars. You're able to do them for distance learning and to give people that kind of flexibility of approaching materials in a way that they might find slightly more easy, or just again to maybe add a lighter element to the sort of the text that's there, because again, everyone maybe processes it differently, and those little reflections are a good way of just making sure that sort of students understand what they've just read, understand what they're trying to undertake, and gives them that kind of sort of real world and example and real world feel to what they're doing. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for staying with me on this first live stream. Like I say, hopefully there'll be more, and if you do have questions, please do get in contact.